Hey everyone! Welcome back to Financial Futures. Today we're diving into a critical topic, Medicare at 65. There's a lot of confusion about whether you must start Medicare at 65, and if you don't, will you face penalties? Spoiler alert, not everyone has to start Medicare at 65, and you might not be making a mistake by refusing it. Let's clear up the myths and get to the facts. First things first, let's talk about the 5 groups of people who are required to start Medicare at 65. This is important because if you fall into one of these categories and don't sign up for Medicare, you could face penalties or gaps in your coverage. Let's break it down. If neither you nor your spouse is working and you don't have an employer plan, you must start Medicare at 65. Without employer coverage, Medicare is your primary insurance, and not enrolling can leave you without essential health coverage. COBRA is a temporary continuation of your employer's health plan after leaving a job. While COBRA can be a stopgap, once you're eligible for Medicare at 65, COBRA moves to the secondary payer position. This means Medicare becomes your primary insurance, and COBRA pays second. Failing to enroll in Medicare A and B can leave you with unpaid medical bills because COBRA will not cover what Medicare should have covered. TRICARE is health insurance for military retirees. When you become eligible for Medicare, TRICARE switches to a secondary payer after Medicare. Not enrolling in Medicare A and B means you'll have to pay first for your medical expenses, as TRICARE will only cover the remainder after Medicare pays its share. If you're covered by an Affordable Care Act (ACA) plan, you must switch to Medicare at 65. The financial benefits like premium subsidies and cost-sharing reductions that make ACA plans affordable are no longer available once you're eligible for Medicare. Keeping an ACA plan would mean paying full price for coverage, which is generally not cost-effective compared to Medicare. If you're still working or your spouse is, and your employer has fewer than 20 employees, you must enroll in Medicare. In this case, Medicare becomes the primary payer, and your employer's plan is secondary. Not enrolling in Medicare can leave you with uncovered medical costs because your employer's insurance will expect Medicare to pay first. Now, let's talk about who does not have to start Medicare at 65. There's only one group, and that's people who are still working or have a spouse who is working and are covered by a large employer plan with 20 or more employees. If this is you, you can refuse Medicare at 65 without penalties. Let's delve into why this is possible and what your options are. For those of you who fall into this category, let's discuss your options in detail. Remember, each option comes with its own set of considerations based on your personal situation, so it's important to evaluate them carefully. If you're contributing to a health savings account, HSA, don't enroll in Medicare A or B. Enrolling in any part of Medicare will disqualify you from contributing to your HSA. Here's why this matters. HSAs offer triple tax benefits, contributions are tax deductible, the account grows tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free. These benefits make HSAs a powerful tool for saving for future medical expenses. For 2024, the contribution limit for an HSA is $3,850 for individuals and $7,750 for families. If you're 55 or older, you can contribute an additional $1,000 as a catch-up contribution. Losing the ability to contribute means missing out on these significant tax advantages. HSAs can be used to pay for a wide range of medical expenses, including Medicare premiums, excluding Medigap, long-term care expenses, and prescription drugs. Keeping your HSA intact can provide a substantial financial cushion for these costs. If you don't have an HSA, it's often beneficial to enroll in Medicare Part A. Here's why. Medicare Part A is free for most people who have paid Medicare taxes for at least 40 quarters, 10 years. There's no downside to enrolling if you don't have an HSA. In the case of hospitalization, Medicare Part A can act as a secondary payer to your employer's plan, potentially covering costs like coinsurance, or some hospital expenses that your employer plan doesn't cover. If your employer plan is expensive or has high deductibles, compare it with what Medicare offers. Sometimes, switching to Medicare makes more financial sense. Compare your current plan's premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket maximums with those of Medicare. In some cases, Medicare may offer more comprehensive coverage at a lower cost. Even if you enroll in both Medicare A and B, your employer plan will remain the primary payer, and Medicare will be secondary. This can reduce your out-of-pocket costs significantly if your employer plan has high cost sharing. Eventually, you might want to switch to Medicare when you or your spouse stop working. This is where the Special Enrollment Period, SEP, comes in. With SEP, you can enroll in Medicare without penalties, provided you have proof of continuous coverage through an employer. Here's what you need to know. This form verifies that you've had health insurance through your or your spouse's employment since turning 65. Your HR department will need to fill this out to confirm your coverage. This form is where you request to start your Medicare Part B benefits. You'll specify the date you want your coverage to begin. For example, if your employment ends on July 31, you'd request your Medicare to start on August 1. Complete these forms within 90 days of leaving your employer plan to avoid any coverage gaps. The government requires that you submit these forms no sooner than 90 days before your employer coverage ends. Ensure there's no gap in your coverage from age 65 to when you enroll in Medicare to avoid any issues. Continuous coverage means you won't face penalties or delays in starting your Medicare benefits. It's crucial to compare your current employer plan with Medicare options before making a decision. Here's what you should consider. Determine what you're currently paying for your employer plan, both for yourself and any covered family members. Compare this with the cost of Medicare premiums. Assess the annual deductible for your employer plan versus Medicare. A higher deductible means higher out-of-pocket costs before your insurance starts to pay. Look at the coinsurance rates, the percentage of costs you pay after meeting your deductible, and the out-of-pocket maximums. Medicare plans often have lower out-of-pocket maximums. Compare your current prescription drug costs under your employer plan with what you'd pay under a Medicare Part D plan. Medicare's prescription drug plans can be very cost-effective. If you need help with this comparison, we're here to assist you. Our team can help you lay out the details side by side to see which option makes more financial sense. If you have dependents covered by your employer plan, such as a spouse or children, make sure to consider their coverage options. Dropping your employer plan might affect them negatively, so ensure they have alternative coverage options before making a decision. So, there you have it. Some of you might choose to do nothing if you have an HSA. Others might enroll in Medicare A only, and some might find that enrolling in both Medicare A and B is the best choice. It all depends on your specific situation and needs. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Financial Futures for more essential Medicare and financial advice. And don't forget to check out other videos on channel packed with valuable information to help you make the best Medicare decisions. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.